City Public vents frustration on PMV bus driver. Parents and students caught amidst listing mix-up at UPNG. And more TFF concerns, this time in Goroka.
This is the National EMTV News with Meribah Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Wednesday's news. The 9-mile community outside Port Moresby set alight a PMV bus after it ran over a student this morning. Bystanders said the student was on his way to school when he was hit by the bus. The driver of the PMV was badly assaulted by members of the public and handed over to police, while the student was taken to hospital.
The incident occurred this morning between 6:30 and 7 o'clock. Witnesses say the PMV bus was transporting students to a secondary school at 14 Mile. Maxi Kanea, a professional kickboxer, was on that bus. Kanea says the bus went around the 9-mile roundabout, and instead of taking a right turn to head to the school, it took a left turn and hit the student.
So na break him loose nothing, so I'm still going, but no. I'm turning going na bus, I'm somebody control him na igo na. I'm latapin sila pigin niya lo abstray.
David Karuma is a witness. He said after the bus hit the student, it traveled for some more meters before running into two other sedans, which were parked on the side of the road.
Break loose name megim. Naim chim kamata bro main road ya noga tem tula taxi like kaminche lo market lenem as blenem TV nam taxi em abim na pudani mem lo main road em yetem fire na em sidan stop na driver like kilimeme noga tem all policeman na all impasi mem na de la kanjo all em chim bagrap lo handball man street man lia.
Because of this incident, 9-mile residents have raised concerns on the lack of proper bus stops.
People like him, NCDC governor must be noticed member, must sit down and extend him this land, run about there. This time rubbish. Bus stop must create him good. Proper bus stop must put him.
In 2014, when this road was constructed, there was no bus stop built. As a result, PMV bus operators are forced to stop just on the side of the 9-mile roundabout to drop off and pick up passengers.
Road condition now stop here. What is the road there? I mean, road was in Stablo City. Too narrow here. How car by give space? All government must look. Open extend the road is big blow where. Or man marry by walk about, car by run free.
Some passengers say there will be more accidents, but PMV operators say they do not have a choice. Even taxi operators do not have proper areas to park and wait for passengers. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
The Papua New Guinea Media Workers Association has condemned the attack of post-Korea journalist Frankie Kapin by staff from the office of the Morobe governor. The association said if people are aggrieved by a media report, there are proper and established processes to air their grievances, including demanding a retraction and/or apology and even restitution through the courts. The attack gained international attention, with the International Federation of Journalists also supporting the statement by the PNG Media Workers Association. Also released today was a statement from the UN Resident Coordinator in PNG, Gianluca Rampolla, who said a free, uncensored media is the cornerstone of a democratic society, while saying the United Nations system in PNG stands against violence against the media in any form. Meanwhile, the 4 men who assaulted the journalist appeared for mention at the Lay District Court today. They include the Morobe Governor's project officer, Stephen Botting, and 3 others, Benny Raymond, Tinge Dupemuk, and Alex John. All 4 admitted to their charges of assault on Post-Korea reporter Frankie Kapin last week while attending an event at ERAP. They attacked the journalist over reports on the media they said were negative against the Morobe governor. The magistrate adjourned the case to Friday and will make a decision based on Mr. Kapin's medical report. Governor Ginson Sano is yet to release a statement since the attack last Friday. Parents and students selected on the Office of Higher Education list for the University of Papua New Guinea School of Business have been going back and forth from the UPNG and OHE to see if the students have a space to study. A total of 54 students were selected on the OHE online selection based on their academic performance and UPNG quota. Only 15 were offered a space at the School of Business.
In Parliament last week, a number of issues to do with UPNG were hot topics, one being the two lists done by OHE and the university itself. 39 students from the School of Business selected under the OHE list fronted up to the Department of Higher Education, questioning why they weren't able to register under the School of Business.
This plan undertaking, he came to Parliament finish, I think, last week. But message go down all institutions. So, he got breakdown of communication, all mangi, all excluding finish. Me got sample of this law, beginning come looking me all said, this is like me carrying come law, Minister of Law, Higher Education. Law, any of them must go, not talk, law, this institution, not talk. Extend him.
So, we have attended to this. So, it is a problem, but we are attending. Thank you.
In light of all this, the students did not want to speak on camera because they did not want to be terminated by the university. Off camera, they explained that they are confused on what is happening between OHE and UPNG, as they are being told two different stories. The listing affected 3 schools in total. For Humanity and Law School, the students affected have been given placings, while for the School of Business, out of 54, only 15 have been given a space. UPNG Acting Vice Chancellor Vincent Malaiba, during orientation, told EMTV that the UPNG selections list was based on 3 requirements, one being quota, academic, and that the students applied to UPNG. The students who fronted up to the Department of Higher Education this morning said that most of them had put their first choice as the UPNG School of Business and second choice also at the university, and they did not understand why the university did not accept them to register.
They are in the quota, we take you. So our list will not contain anyone who meets our admission criteria in terms of GPAs and all this, who can be in the quota, but they never applied. How are we going to force students against their choice? The Constitution is quite clear. You protect the fundamental right of choice.
So that leaves the question on why the university isn't accepting the students. Office of Higher Education selection process had 2 requirements, academic and the quota. The students are currently residing at the International Village but have had no access to the mass for the last 2 weeks. Some have paid the compulsory fee with boarding and lodging, while others are awaiting news of a space before paying. Classes for first years begin next Monday. Most of the 39 students selected on the OHE list are from remote centers in the country. They say they have spent 13 years of their life studying to get into a university, and it is unacceptable that the university won't accept them. EMTV has tried to contact the acting vice chancellors to get comment on the situation, but has been advised he has been in meetings with government officials. Adelaide's Derek Skari, National, EMTV News.
5 people in lay were given their titles by the National Housing Corporation today. Among them was Margaret Wera, who received the title on behalf of her late husband, Joe Wera, who passed away last year. Those who were presented the titles today bought the properties through the NHC's giveaway scheme.
Some of these individuals have waited more than 20 years to be given their titles after buying their properties from the NHC. Today, in a small but important gathering, these people were finally presented their titles.
These 5 recipients today received their titles. They participated under the national government's giveaway scheme policy. That's about 4,000 houses throughout the country.
Amongst them was Margaret Wara, a widow who came to receive the title on behalf of her late husband, Joe. Her husband's family bought the place and have been waiting for the title since 1993.
Master Blomi paying 500 kinalo title. Nol to kime mosem. You go back loli. Bampla salim title ka. 1993 to 2017 mi plawaitim title nogat.
Today she was given the title.
O mi hamu mastre. Mi hamu masosem title lemka.
NHC's acting regional manager for Momase, Andrew Algui, said the process has been slow and some families are still waiting for their titles.
It's a process, and the process is governed by processes and procedures which are guidelines that we must follow.
Lucy Kopana, National MTV News, Leh.
You're watching National MTV News. We'll have more on the other side of these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. A room at the West Lorengau Hillside House was allegedly set on fire by refugees. Manus police say quick response by security personnel on the ground prevented the fire from spreading. A non-refugee has been apprehended as a suspect in this case. In another incident, a refugee was involved in a fight with a PNG Defence Force naval officer. Police say the refugee tried to stab the naval officer, who is based at Lonbroom. However, other officers intervened and removed the knife from the refugee. Fortunately, no one was injured, with both incidents occurring last Friday. A group of men who had applied to join the police force are asking those in charge of recruitment to advise them on their applications. They had applied in 2017, but the applications were terminated because the recruitment process was suspended by the police hierarchy. This morning, they visited the police headquarters at Konidobu, but did not receive an appropriate response.
An estimated 300 were affected. They told MTV News they want the police hierarchy to tell them the state of their applications.
To date now, we did not get any response or any directives from the commissioner for when will we recommence our recruitment processes.
In January 2017, the management of UPNG suspended police recruitment. This was because of an increase in numerous public complaints and concerns of bias and nepotism. The suspension then had meant those selected for further interviews and other formalities will remain pending until further notice. A review of the recruitment process was conducted and the suspension was uplifted. However, those who had applied from NCD claims none of them were selected.
We only went to the recruitment training office, and we were advised that we will get the directive from the top hierarchy. They are not aware of the situation. They said they are still waiting to.
Those who were recruited after the suspension will pass out this Friday. The police hierarchy is yet to make an official response. Thekla Gunga, National MTV News.
31 employees of the Coffee Industry Corporation have become reserve police officers. This follows the recent formation of the CIC Reservist Unit. The 31 underwent 4 weeks of training on court procedures, arresting powers and safe handling of firearms in Ayura, Eastern Highlands. They will enforce regulations under the CIC Act and police nearby communities in Ayura. Police Commissioner Gary Baki, who presented their certificates, says in order to increase community policing is to empower citizens to become reservists. The 3-day workshop on procurement for the National Statistical Office of PNG in preparation for the 2020 National Census ended today. Procurement has been a tedious component in past census and surveys in the country. National statistician Rocco Koloma says that the 2020 population and housing census will not be an exception.
The 3-day workshop facilitated by the Central Supply and Tenders Board has helped the senior officers of NSO to learn and understand the legal framework to contracting processes and procedures that are part and parcel of the procurement process.
Issues that we have to comply with. So, for the sake of us running this surveys and census in Papua New Guinea, I have a lot of senior officers here and also young officers involved in the big exercise, especially the 2020 census, where they have to understand what is the requirement when you talk about anything above 500,000. We really want to make an impact and sustain the kind of program in the next 10 years. That's our aim. So definitely, the National States Office will be given, funding for that exercise, and our good friends from CSTB must be part and parcel of our thoughts to follow a process that, at the end of the day, everybody is happy that the money was invested and well spent for the purpose of ensuring that our people of Papua New Guinea benefit from it.
The workshop was an eye-opener for the staff as the awareness, education, and insights into certain levels of procuring goods and services using larger amounts of public funds were made known. Mr. Koloma stated that NSO wants to ensure that things are done properly because millions of kina will be invested in this project. Lilian Soperakinea, National EMTV News.
This is Wednesday's news. We go for a break, and when we come back, some stories making headlines overseas. Welcome back to the news. The head teacher of West Goroka Primary School in Eastern Highlands says the school is expected to receive more than 600,000 kina in TFF payments each year, but the school only received 200,000 kina last year. The government still owes them more than 400,000 kina in TFF payments. West Goroka Primary School is the biggest in Goroka with 2,300 students.
This is West Goroka Primary School in Eastern Highlands Province. It is the province's biggest school with 2,300 students and 43 teachers. The school receives the highest tuition fee-free payments in the province. Its expected TFF payment for a year is 654,000 kina. The primary school's head teacher, Tony Koinge, says the school only received 200,000 kina last year.
Students raised money themselves, and last year they raised 27,000. And you can see the building over there, they build it themselves. Students build the classroom themselves. So we don't wait for people to come and help us. We are helping ourselves. We build that classroom ourselves up there. We build that building over there ourselves. And this office, we build it ourselves without any help from outside. And no TFF money went into that. This is our own self-help projects.
Koinge said it was difficult for the school to operate last year because parents have not been paying student fees due to the government's free education policy. The tuition fee-free education policy has helped a lot of parents, especially those who cannot pay for their children's fees. Koinge said parents have lost their responsibilities over their children.
The rural schools, they have the problem because all the parents don't pay project fees, and most of these rural schools, they get the funding, but it's according to the level of school and number of children. So most of the time they get less than the amount they require. So.
According to the government's tuition fee-free education policy, the National Department of Education should pay 297 kina to educate a child each year. The schools are supposed to be paid their TFF payments according to the enrollment population figure submitted to the Department of Education each year. According to records, the government owes 6 primary schools and a secondary school in Leyte District over 3.6 million kina, Nawai Lutheran High School 1.2 million kina, and Hekwange Primary School in Menyama District more than 40,000 kina. Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Ley.
Turning overseas now, a warning: this next item contains some harrowing scenes in what's being described as a catastrophic bombardment. The Syrian rebel hold of Eastern Ghouta is being plummeted by regime forces. Activists say in just 2 days of intensified attacks, 250 people have been killed, 1 in 5 of them children.
It could be the beginning of the end of a rebellion in Eastern Ghouta that began in 2012. All the other smaller rebel-held enclaves around Damascus have been starved and bombed into submission. Now it looks to be Eastern Ghouta's turn as the regime pushes for decisive victory around the capital. Activists in Eastern Ghouta say this is as bad as it's been.
There is nowhere to hide from this nightmare in Eastern Ghouta.
A generation has been born into the war. Dozens have been killed by it in the last few hours in Eastern Ghouta. Over the years of siege, they've set up a network of underground hospitals. This girl, named in Arabic Angel, escaped the worst, but will have to go back to the streets to get home. And this is her area, with a regime plane dropping what appears to be a barrel bomb, unguided, an indiscriminate killer. The Syrian regime denies attacking civilians. It says it's trying to liberate Eastern Ghouta from terrorists. Eastern Ghouta is surrounded by Syrian government forces. Before the war, it was just a short drive from the Syrian presidential palace. Officially, it's been designated a de-escalation zone. That is an empty phrase. Force decides what happens in Syria. After 7 years, Syria's war isn't ending, but it's changing. President Assad, with the help of Russia and Iran, is now secure. But Syria is linked into a web of war and power politics, which guarantees more bloodshed. How many times in the last 7 years have Syrians dug through the rubble for survivors? There's talk of safe corridors out for civilians, but based on past form, the regime wants victory in Eastern Ghouta and the surrender of the rebels.
Closer to home, Cyclone Gita may have been short and sharp, but its lingering mess in New Zealand will take days, even weeks, to clear. Thousands of residents and tourists remain cut off after Cyclone Gita drenched the region.
Gita met Golden Bay.
You alright? Freaking out a bit.
And when she left, there was no path to follow. 16 slips blocking the road between Rewoka and Takaka in the Tasman district. The road was closed late Tuesday afternoon, just before flooding overwhelmed neighbouring Rewoka and Motsueka. It all happened quickly.
We were actually inside. We just saw the muddy water coming through the back paddock, so we knew then that the little stream at the back couldn't cope.
On the other side of the hill, rising river levels threatening the Takaka township.
And when we came to the hospital, there was no one here. We were like, what?
So we can already see work is underway. We've got diggers up on the road there as far as they can get anyway to these places where the slips are on the Takaka road here. But the other thing that they are looking at the moment are alternatives of how to get transport over to Takaka township, getting food and supplies, and also getting people back out again.
There's obviously a bit of work to be done on that Takaka Hill road before it can get up and running. We've been told several days at this stage.
Now, instead of travelling on, most tourists are having to stay put.
It's all juggling and ringing the bookings that we've had and making sure it's all happening.
They're supposed to be catching the ferry back in a day or two and we won't make it.
With the main supply line cut off, people have been stocking up, leaving the shelves bare.
It's probably the worst bit of panic buying I've seen since I've been in the business.
Stocking up?
Stocking up, yeah, just a bit worried how long the hill's going to be closed.
For now, supplies will come in from the sea until this vital link reopens.
To take us to Trukai Sports, it's been called the worst 4 minutes in NBA history, and it had nothing to do with on-court action. The pre-game entertainment at the annual All-Stars game featured at least a less than memorable rendition of the US national anthem, and as you can expect, criticism all round.
The NBA's annual party has left an all-star hangover. The night started with a Kevin Hart-hosted pre-game described as being of high school quality. But pop star Fergie's rendition of the national anthem took it to another level.
Oh, say, can you see?
Black Eyed Peas lead singer mangling the Star-Spangled Banner. The players listening on in disbelief, while others struggled to explain what they'd heard.
It was different. That was different. It had to be different in 2018.
Kind of reminded me of that end of the night performance when you've had a little bit too much to drink and you think you sound good.
Roseanne Barr's legacy could be safe after this.
Roseanne agreed, posting a tweet arguing she sang it better in 1990. You be the judge. Fergie released a statement today saying she at least tried to do something a little different.
Let's play some basketball!
Thank goodness the players' on-court actions spoke louder than her words.
You're with National MTV News. Medang FC says it is in desperate need of funding to make an OFC placing. That story heads Trukai Sports. That's after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with boxing. The PNG Boxing Union will host the Kokoda Challenge that will see boxers from PNG, Fiji and Australia participate. The event will showcase Commonwealth Games athletes from these three countries.
Lamana Gold Club come 10th of May will showcase some of the best boxers in the Commonwealth, including Papua New Guinea, Fiji and Australia in the Kokoda Boxing Challenge as part of a Commonwealth Games trial in Port Moresby. Papua New Guinea will be represented by 1 woman and 4 men boxers in this event.
We have 5 boxers who are actually training in Manila, Baguio, High Performance Center, Boxing High Performance Center. Our athletes comprising of 1 female and 4 boxers with 2 of head coach and the assistant coach. They will be returning back to Port Moresby after training on the 8th of March to take part or participate at the Kokoda Cup here in Lamana.
He says at the moment all 5 boxers are currently in the Philippines where they are training. He says while they are looking forward to the Kokoda Challenge, another training program will also be organized for them just before the Commonwealth Games in Canberra.
This will also give us some measure as to where our boxers are before our final touches down in Canberra Sports Institute, where they will take part in training programs against England, Ireland, Kenya. Most of the Commonwealth boxing, elite teams will be in Canberra in this program. They will train and do high-level sparring with them.
The 2015 Pacific Games gold medalist Debbie Kaure won't participate in boxing at the Commonwealth Games, but in rugby union.
We regret that one of our champions will be not there, but she's still with us, but she chose to. So that's the only hiccup in our selection, but everybody else is qualified, and training very well, preparing for the games.
Avira says he is confident and happy with the final selection. Godwin Eki, National MTV Sports.
To football now, and National Soccer League team Medang FC, the second PNG football team in the OFC Champions League, will risk losing their OFC spot and face repercussions and a hefty fine if they do not make it to New Zealand in time to compete. Medang FC chairman Dr. Mio Komolong says they will need funding close to 100,000 kina in order to make their campaign possible.
With OFC Champions League Pool C matches set to kick off on February 25th, the clock is ticking for Medang FC to pull together enough funds to make it in time for the matches in New Zealand.
Basically, need to pay for our own tickets now, so that would require us to fork out about 30 to 40,000 kina to pay for our tickets there and back, and we can settle it later. So that's the immediate funding requirement we need, apart from the living expenses in New Zealand, which would require another 40 to 50,000. So we're looking at about 100,000 kina to travel to New Zealand this Friday.
Chairman Dr. Komolong is now making a general appeal to interested sponsors to help keep this PNG team in the OFC.
For schools football, it is an opportunity for us to actually show that football is not just about ourselves, but it's about everybody and it's about the nation. We schools football, Port Moresby, is keen to get our young kids to represent the country. And so it is important that where we see needs, we need to step in and support them wherever we can.
And with a not-so-ideal date set 2 days from now, MFC has only tomorrow to go before they can be sure if they can make it to New Zealand. Port Moresby Schoolboys and Supporters Club have come on board with support, but MFC still needs all the help they can get.
The important message that we need to, really the support is that we're doing this for the nation and for our footballing aspirations as a nation and for our children's future in football. So that's why you see, we've come in like our chairman for Port Moresby Schools Football Association said. We're coming from where the children sit and where we need to take them into the future. It's nothing about anyone trying to gain personal mileage out of this. We're trying to set the foundation for our children, so we solidly bury it down in the Oceania Confederation, so we can be competitive in the going towards the FIFA World Cups as a nation.
Fundraising drives carried out by MFC with the help of Schoolboys Football has raised some funds, but it is still not enough to get the team to New Zealand and back. For business houses and individuals that would like to contribute to MFC's successful attendance of the OFC matches and campaign, you can contribute to the team's funds via this account.
We are appealing to football fans and football supporters throughout Papua New Guinea to assist our team, send them to New Zealand. It's important for Papua New Guinea because if Madang doesn't go, we automatically lose our second spot for the OFC. And that's detrimental to football development in PNG, and that will affect the competition in the NSL this season if our second team, because of what will happen if Mereng does not go to the OFC.
For now, the team continues training while they await their fate. Dinero Strico, National EMTV Sports.
To international football now, it had to happen eventually. Five-time World Footballer of the Year, Lionel Messi broke his goal-scoring drought against Chelsea in the Champions League.
Mrs. Willian finally hit the target for Chelsea. They took the lead in the round of 16 Champions League game at Stamford Bridge in London, but Bartha's pressure was rewarded when Messi equalised.
Courtois having to go from his near post to get into the middle of the goal. Messi knows that and just bends it into the spot he's come from.
It was his first goal in 9 matches against Chelsea, securing a 1-1 draw, a huge boost ahead of the return leg in the Champions League next month.
And you're watching Trukai Sports. We'll have more for you after these messages. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To Rugby League now. Lace Next Tigers arrived this afternoon for Saturday's match against the Nandi Aviators from Fiji. The Tigers are the defending champions of the Melanesian Cup. They will play the curtain raiser to the Hunters Broncos match at the National Football Stadium.
Defending champions of the Melanesian Cup, Lace Next Tigers arrived in Port Moresby today for the double-header this weekend at the National Football Stadium. Head coach Stanley Tappan says the boys are in good form and will win back the title. He says this is not the first time the Tigers will play the Nadi Aviators, but this time it will be on home soil.
We've had a solid six to 7 weeks in training. We had the National Nines last week with our academy boys and 2 or 3 of these boys, so that was a good hit out for the young boys. But the senior boys here, we're really confident, especially winning in Fiji and here winning in PNG. I think less travelling for us, and I think it's a lot better because we've played at the NFS before, and playing in front of a big crowd, I'm sure the boys are looking forward to it, so we're confident to keep the cup here.
He says Captain Paul Kambi and Ismail Balkawa will lead the Tigers onto the field come Saturday.
Ismail will start at prop at number 8 and Paul Kambi will start at lock. So our bench rotation will hopefully have one of them there on the field on any given time. So the side will be confirmed from the 20 that I brought over on Friday.
This is also a lead-up match for the Lace Next Tigers for this year's Digicel Cup. Lace Next Tigers are back-to-back premiers of the Digicel Cup competition in the country. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
Tigers coach Stanley Tappin says the presence of the Brisbane Broncos will only boost the level of the sport and build momentum for PNG's push to enter the NRL competition.
I think we've come a long way, and having Broncos come here, I don't think Broncos have come up here for like 20 or 30 years, so it shows the maturity, how we've grown in the last couple of years, World Cup, and then the Hunters winning the Cup, the Interest Cup, so hopefully the more trial games can come and it'll just open the door for us to get into NRL. So I think it's a really, really big step for us, especially after the World Cup.
To the NRL, and Sean Johnson has revealed some of the changes the Warriors are making to avoid another underwhelming season. They include major twists to their game plan.
The Warriors about to field their A side for the first time this year. Sean Johnson has yet another halves partner. Can this one bring out the best of him?
They haven't spent a heap of time together, but over the last probably week and a half, you can see them really gelling together.
The plan to import Blake Green from Manly was twofold: add experience and allow Johnson the same freedom and space that Green gave Manly's Daly Cherry Evans last year.
It's going to try. I think that's the way we're sort of going to play at the moment. That's the plan.
Johnson couldn't be happier.
That sort of, I guess, releases me to have my eyes up and pick my moments when I see them. So, last year in particular, we probably went a bit into our shells and we focused on completion more than maybe playing a bit of Warrior football.
It means more freedom for all key playmakers, including Sam Cook, who'll start at hooker this weekend and could be set for an NRL debut as Isaac Luke's backup. Nathaniel Roach was thought to be a serious contender for the number 9 jumper, but One News has been told his cruel run of injuries has continued with an Achilles problem which has put his season in doubt.
We'll probably have a bit more news on him in the next week or so.
The rest of their big guns are ready to go, as is outside back Hayes Perham, who's pushing a few seasoned campaigners hard for an NRL spot.
Two rugby union and contrasting teams have been confirmed for the opening game in Super Rugby this Friday. The Highlanders have a familiar field with experience for a showdown against the Blues. On the other hand, the Northerners welcomed 4 debutants and a new forwards combination.
Upper Hutt's Murphy Taramai, the last couple of months, like the rest of his football career, have been quite a ride.
Trying to get a contract was pretty tough, but you don't know what your future's going to be like.
It looked bleak a couple of months back, initially missing out on a full super deal. North Harbour's Taramai now finds himself starting in the prime open side flank position in Dunedin.
You motivated to prove a few wrong?
That's been my motivation my whole career.
After being scouted by Penrith in the NRL, the former league player switched and made the National Union 7 side a few years ago, ending up at Harbour. A hard-hitting defender and ball runner, Taramai had an eye-catching 2017 provincial campaign.
He's a workhorse, he's a good character off the field, but when he gets across that white line, he throws everything at it.
Parsons and Taramai's Harbour mate, late bloomer Glenn Preston, makes his super debut on the blind side on Friday, with the Blues having 5 Lucies out injured.
Injuries happen and we've just got to be ready for them.
Ironically, the Harbour boy who snuck away starts in the number 7 for the Highlanders. One of the eye-catchers last year, Dylan Hunt, played for and against the All Blacks last November.
He's obviously a quick learner, loves the game, and we've seen a lot of growth in Dylan over the last 8 weeks and just through our pre-season as well, so we like his physicality.
Breakdown challenges aside, Major's the boss in his first super match after nearly 100 as a player. Some new players have also been given an early chance to impress.
And that's a wrap for Trukai Sports. Up next, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Fine, becoming cloudy for Port Moresby and Daru. Mostly fine for Kerema and Alota. A shower or 2 for Popondetta. To the Momasa region, fine, becoming cloudy for Ley and Wau. Some rain and showers expected for Madang and Wewak. Some showers for Vanimo as well. to the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine for Lorengau and Kavieng. A shower or two expected over the next 24 hours for Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, rain and showers expected for Mount Hagen, Goroka and Kundiawa. Mende and Wabe can expect some showers as well over the next 24 hours. To look at the forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours, but first there is a strong wind warning. Strong northwesterly winds at the speed of 25 to 34 knots are expected to ease within the next 12 to 18 hours, causing rough seas and high wind waves. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerma, Yule Island and Hood Point to Samurai Island, and with waters of eastern and western Milne Islands and waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel to Finchafen, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Finchafen to Vitias and Dampier Straits to Siasi Island to Long Island, and with waters of Long Island to Medang, Bogia, Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo, and the northern PNG Indonesian border, seas 1.5 to 2 meters, and waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and waters of New Britain to New Ireland and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast. The Coral Sea sees light with northwest to southwesterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. Solomon Sea sees slight to moderate with northwest to southwesterly winds at 10 to 20 knots. Bismarck Sea sees moderate with northwesterly winds at 25 to 34 knots. And the Pacific Ocean sees moderate with northwesterly winds to westerly winds at 15 to 20 knots.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And before we go, a recap of our top stories again. Public rallies against PMV bus that hit schoolboy, parents and students at UPNG left in limbo, and TFF funding shortfalls a concern in Goroka. And that's the news, sport and weather for today, Wednesday, February the 21st, 2018. On behalf of the EMTV News team from around the country, pleasant viewing. Good night.